Hello neighbors, it's Brad here at eTrailer, and today we're taking a look at installing the Curt trailer wiring harness 4-pole on a 2014 Acura MDX. Adding trailer wiring is a great way to keep yourself safe if you do plan on never towing the trailer, because it's going to send the light sequence that you're using in your vehicle, which is going to be your running lights, turn signals, and brake lights, to the trailer, letting the people behind you know what you're doing and when you're turning and braking. So that's going to be a required application when you are towing. Now this is also a really nice system because it lives outside the vehicle currently, but when we're not using it, we can actually store it inside, so it's going to keep it nice and clean. Also included is a dust cap too, which allows you to simply put this over, and that way if you are going to be using this shortly, you can kind of just hook it through here. Or if you plan on keeping this in your vehicle and you cap this up, it's going to keep all these connectors nice and clean. That way when you hook up, you're not going to have any dust, dirt, or debris built up on it. Now when you're done using your wiring, you can simply just tuck this back in here, just coil it up. There's a nice little pocket, and with that cargo cover, it's going to keep this kind of hidden and just clean and out of the way until you actually need to use it. So this can just tuck in here. Now while we are here, you're going to see the module here, and there's also an inline fuse as well by the fuse panel, and with that you're going to get added layers of protection from any backfeed from the trailer, so if you do have a short, it's not going to fry any of the electronics on your vehicle. The great thing about this install in particular is it's really easy. It all just kind of snaps into factory harnesses. You plug a few fuses in, you can use a factory ground, and you'll have this done within about 10 minutes or so. I'm going to walk you through every step to make sure you get yours installed. To begin our install, we're going to be in the hatch of our MDX, and we're going to just kind of gain access to underneath this area here. You'll see that there's a fuse panel, and that's where our plug's going to be. Our module is going to live in this area, and we can kind of route our wiring over there. So we're going to need to pop open our fuse panel, and you can actually use a flathead or just a pry tool. I can actually use my fingers here, and you'll see this open slot here, and that is where our white plug is going to go. So I'm going to just take our white plug and just kind of pass this over, and you should be able to grab it here. And you may have to kind of help the rest of the wiring along here. You can separate your 4-pole and leave that out to the side, and then just route over. And then this should just plug in right there. And we're going to need to check to see our fuses, and included in the kit are going to be a 7.5 and a 10 amp fuse, so we're going to check our slots to make sure that we have those in place. Now to find where we need to put our fuses, you can use the diagram on the panel, and we're going to be looking for number 2, and that's where our 10 amp is going to go, and then 11 is where our 7.5 is going to go. So that's going to be your trailer small LT and then your trailer hazard. So take the 10 amp fuse and place that in the number 2 slot. So it looks as if we're going to go right here. And once you kind of line it up, just give it a quick push. So it's kind of hard to see when I was putting the fuses in, but here we have them installed. We have our 10 amp in our number 2 slot, and then our 7.5 in this middle of the 5. So that's going to be our number 11. So once we have those in place, we also have a few more connections to make, and then we're just about done. Now the white wire coming off of our module is going to be our ground wire, and you'll either have to self-tap this in, but the way that we've routed it here, you can actually see a 10mm nut or a bolt, and it has a factory ground. So we're going to go ahead and use that. So I'll get my 10mm, take that off, and then we'll mount up our ground wire. And make sure those other grounds stay in place when you feed that bolt back in. And we'll just tighten this down enough to where this ring terminal isn't moving around. We also have our fuse holder here, and now that we have our connections made, we can go ahead and put that in place, and that's going to connect our circuit for power. And this acts as a secondary safety too, just in case of backfeed. This fuse is going to pop and not damage any of your wiring. So now we just need to get our module mounted up, and that's mostly just to keep it from rattling around in the back. And we have a flat surface here, so I'll take our double-sided tape and just place that on there. And this wall is pretty flat here, so try to find the flattest spot possible. In fact, I'm going to use our factory wire loom to kind of hold that in place just for added protection here. So we'll go ahead and peel this off and then just pull that factory wire loom back just a little bit, and then we'll get this to our flat spot, press it in place, and that should be secure. Now if you want to, you can go ahead and zip tie your wire up, or you can kind of just tuck that down as well. So you can go ahead and get your fuse panel back in place, and then when you're ready to use your wiring, this is going to live inside the vehicle, but when you're ready to hook up, you just simply drape this over and just have it sit in the weather stripping. It's pretty much safe along all of here. It's not going to pinch it because it does have enough room here. Just make sure you don't get it in your latch. So you can go ahead, set that down, and then close your hatch. Now before hitting the road, you're going to want to make sure that you test that the wiring's working. Two ways to do that. We have a 4-pole tester here, and this is really nice because it keeps it specific to the vehicle. That way you know that it's specifically the wiring rather than the trailer, which sometimes can have faulty wiring and give you a false signal that the wiring's bad. So you can still hook it up to your trailer and have someone check the lights as we run through them. So now that I have ours plugged in, I'm going to go ahead, hop in the car and run through the light sequence and make sure that it's working. So starting off, I'm going to run my running lights. Next I'll do my left turn signal, then my right turn signal, and then finally my brake lights. Everything's working properly, so that will conclude our installation of our wiring harness on a 2014 Acura MDX.